comes a time, this is what we're banking on. There's the slope of enlightenment. If you want, there's a things start working, you can start scaling and building and whatever. So the product market fit, like things come up after this experimentation. But I do think the experimentation gives you the skills, because if you're not used to things that are boring, if you're not used to working when it's boring, if you're not used to learning skills on your own, if you're not used to kind of these like less than ideal working conditions, then what will you really have when you have the team, when you do have the resources to scale? How are you going to inspire people? How are you going to teach people what you did?
Well, also like the valley of despair, the experimentation, the learning period is a prerequisite, because if you already knew everything, you would just jump to the product market fit and start going. Like a thought exercise that I have is like, if I'm struggling at something, like I'm struggling at a consulting business, I just think of someone that's way ahead of me. And they have been doing this for decades. And I'm like, would they be struggling with the things I'm struggling right now? It's like, no, they wouldn't, because they've been there. They've done that. You know, it's just rinse and repeat for them. Everything's predictable. Everything's boring.
Because they've done this so many times. They get it. And they've seen different outcomes. And they've seen how they react to different outcomes. And they're like, it's kind of like if you saw a kid like tying their shoes and like really struggling with it. And you're not going to like be like, oh, they're so stupid. You're just going to like, you're going to be like, oh, I've been there. Like I didn't know at some point, but now, and that for that child, tying their shoes might be like, I'll never get this. Like I'll never get through this. But you're like, that's not true. Like that's going to be an afterthought in like 30 minutes from now. Like even, you know, so like, it's a silly example, but you can apply it to so many things. There's points in my life where I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to have a relationship like this, or I'm never going to be able to create content. I'm never, like some of the videos I make today, I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. And it's like, I've overcome that, you know? And now I wouldn't even think to be stressed about that. It's just like a habit. It's an instinct now. And that's where this stage will teach you how to make those things that are problems into a habit. And I think the whole definition of a problem is really interesting to think about in this stage, to your point, because if something is a problem to you, like that means that you haven't figured something else. Figure something
underdeveloped
out. Underdeveloped skill. And I think, like, if you really think about this, there's certain things that someone can bring up to you. Just say you're really good at math and somebody brought to you a literal math problem. You'd be like, oh, easy. Like, you wouldn't define it as a problem because it's easy for you. But if somebody brought something that you're not good at, like art or, you know, whatever, and they told you to draw, you'd be like, I have a problem with art. I can't draw. I'm so bad at this, X, Y, Z. You would define it as a problem. And that's because you haven't figured something out yet. Problem is subjective. So there's no like objective problem. Like I'm like objectively bad at this. Like this sucks. It's just a problem to you right now because of what the resources you have and your experience and your skill. And it's just like all of those things can be improved. Skill can be improved. Experience can be improved. All of these things. And then things no longer become problems. So like if you're in this kind of like despair phase and you're feeling like this is just my problem, it's usually because there's things that you're missing that make you define this situation as a problem. So thought that could be helpful. But one thing I think that is critically important in this phase is to hold on to this vision. Before we get to like how we cope and how we solve this kind of valley of despair problem, if you don't have a vision right now, if you have gone this far without having a vision, this is where it becomes critically important, because I think you can have a lot of feelings of like, oh, I'm bad at this. This sucks. Where is all this going? Blah, blah, blah. Like, am I ever going to get there? And I want to like take a moment to go in depth with like the vision and like what it means, especially in this period of, you know, valley of despair, because you are seeing something that people don't see. And you're seeing something that you don't even like, in a way you don't even see it. Like if you don't hold on to this vision right now, like it just kind of disappears. It'll go away because you had the vision when you started and it was all fun and games because you're like, oh, I've never tried it before. There's so many things to try. And then as you're getting closer to this vision, you're like, I don't know if this is going to work out the way I think it is. If you let go of the vision because you're seeing things don't work out, like you will manifest this vision not working out because you're like letting go of the work that goes into it and you're letting go of the thing in general. And then it just doesn't exist because the vision you see is very specific. I don't see the vision you see. We don't, like, even though we have similar visions, like it's still specific to how we see life. And I really believe everybody's like dream life, everybody's vision is very unique. Yeah. And if we don't go after it, it literally just doesn't exist anymore. And I think that's what's kind of sad. Like, you are the only one who can fulfill your vision, and you're the only one who sees it the way you do. So that means you're the only one who can create it the way you want it to be created. And if that vision could inspire a generation, that vision could inspire your kids, or even just one person. And it's like, that would just suck if that just didn't exist because you were like, I gave up on it. And it's like, it's no longer a thing. Like, and if you need something physical to think about, like, think about all the companies that you use every day. Apple, like Uber, like whatever company, like the restaurants you go to, the ones that you love, like, that's my favorite restaurant. This is my favorite clothing brand. Those were all visions at one point. Yeah. And what if those people just said like, it's getting really hard. I guess it doesn't work. It doesn't exist. And it's like the innovative ones that, like, how the fuck would that work? I mean, I'm sure we bring up Mr. Beast every fucking day, but it's just like these little things. And if people didn't see him doing it, how many less YouTubers would we have? Right. You know, like, if people didn't see all of the musicians that exist and all the different genres and like how people dress differently and all the types of fashion, like how many less people in that field we have, because they don't see it. They're like, oh, I don't know. And it's not that the person who's looking at your vision is going to do exactly what you're doing, but it inspires them to live out theirs. And so I just feel like this, even though I've been in this kind of like, oh, shit, like this is not going to work out, like I am creating a company that is very like lifestyle aspirational based. It's not like a physical store. It's not like an only online store. It's kind of like this mix of things. I've never seen this. Like, how does this make sense to anybody? Like, I've never seen it before. But this is where I kind of like double down on my vision. I'm just like, no, but like, what if someone else is like me and like, I've never seen this before, and like, you know, I have this like unique idea, but it's not exactly how other people do it, and they just like, I make this thing work. I push for it until it's a reality, and then it becomes a new standard or a new baseline for someone. Like, that would be great, because I wish I could see this thing. I wish I had this thing in my life. Like, that's what would be amazing if I hold on to this and actually make it real. So
that makes me think of the data entrepreneurs, because really the whole genesis of it was, I was looking for this community of people like me. They're in the data science, machine learning, AI field, but they want to pursue entrepreneurship. And there were communities for each of those things, but there wasn't a community bringing both together. Right. And so I eventually gave up and just made it. Yeah. I mean, I'm still like mid-flight with this thing. I don't know what it's going to become. It just started with like, I was looking for this thing and it didn't exist, so I made it. Yeah. But I don't know where it's going.
Yeah,
you know
same.
What I mean?
Like, same.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess this is part of the value of despair.
This is the part of
sitting with the uncertainty and not knowing where things are going to go.
Where they're going to go.
But I guess coming back to vision, like, it reminds me of the Jeff Bezos quote, which is, be stubborn about the vision, but flexible on the details. And I feel like my vision has always been tapping into people's full potential. Yeah. And I feel like entrepreneurship is a really good way to do that, because I feel like you tap into full potential when you're like completely immersed and obsessed with something. Yeah. You know, you're kind of pursuing a problem that is meaningful to you, you know, and you're basically giving all your energy and attention to solving that problem. And even though like there are some people, like, they find a job that is 100% aligned with what they want to do. I think we talked about this in episode 1 in the Remo pod. But for most people, you're not going to be able to go find a job that is 100% aligned with your personal goals, values, mission, whatever like that is for you. Exactly. So a lot of times you have to just create that job or create the company that allows you to pursue that mission. Right. And entrepreneurship that's like the definition of it, you know, creating your own job or creating your own company. So my vision has always been like, you know, unlocking people's full potential, because that's the world I want to live in. Even if it's like a very small percentage of the population, just kind of get a nice kick in their potential, like in the right direction. That's why I feel like we need more entrepreneurs. And, you know, that's still a huge problem. It's like, okay, unlocking people's full potential is such a huge problem. It doesn't even have any meaning. But if you say, okay, we need more entrepreneurs, that's still a massive problem that I can't really put a dent in. Okay, how about supporting entrepreneurs in data science and AI? It's like, okay, I feel like that's the right problem for me to pursue. Like, I feel like that is something that I can make progress on.
Yeah.
And then that's why I made the data entrepreneurs, and kind of reminding myself of like this bigger vision and bigger mission. It's just helpful in the, you know, in the valley of despair when nothing makes sense. It's like dark, it's cold, it's windy,
sweaty.
It's sweaty. And just reminding myself of that, it's like, okay, that's what this is all about. It's about seeing what you're capable of, just nudging other people too to explore what they're capable of.
One good rule of thumb could be like, even when you're in this like dark, scary period of entrepreneurship, it's just like, okay, sure, like consulting or content or like all these little pillars of your business that make up your business, like maybe I'm feeling uncertain, maybe I'm feeling confused about them individually or all together or whatever, but am I still sure on my vision? Like if the answer is yes, like you still want to see people get into entrepreneurship, you still want to see a world where people maximize their full potential, like if you still want to see that X vision and you're still like, God, that would be amazing, like that would be so cool, or like I can't die knowing that would never come true, like I think you still have more to explore. Like there's more to go, there's more to experiment on, because, and I think this will last probably your entire, you know, career doing this thing. But like if you still feel so sure, like if your vision is still a hell yes, then there's more to go. Like there's still more to figure out. And I think sometimes like that's why talking to people is really good, because you're just like, when you're talking about what you believe in, you're like, yeah, see, like this is why I do what I do. Like I know I still have you remind yourself of how much you care about this thing, and that is really helpful in the times where you get so much in the weeds, like of the operations of the business. Like I got to make this Instagram post, or I got to make this TikTok. And like, I've been kind of feeling like that this week. I'm like, I'm making all these pieces of content. I'm like, what am I even talking about anymore? Like, am I crazy for what I think, or do I sound too pushy? Do I sound like, I was just like nitpicking all the little aspects of the thing, when it's just like, but I still have this bigger vision. Like I still know the life that I want to have. Like I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to create products. I want to be able to talk to people and meet other people like me, and then show another little girl that like, yeah, you can have a life doing whatever you want. Like you can have
kids.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna cuss them. But like, I want to show younger me that like, yeah, bitch, like I keep cussing to my younger self, but like
18-year-old
self. I want to show her that like everybody who thought you couldn't do this, have the kind of life where you get to do literally everything you want to do, like run around cafes and get paid, and like travel to places and have fun with people, like literally just having fun as my job. I wanted to prove to people that I could do that, and other people doing this too. And I see people like low key doing their like hobbies or their interests, like things for no reason, and are doing things without having to have a reason first, and things will work. And I'm like, see, like I know this is true. And it's like, okay, I still have more work to do. I just got to figure it out. I got to keep going. Even though I don't know, you know?
Yeah. So for you, it sounds like just you believe this thing to be true.
So hard.
But it's almost like you don't have sufficient evidence to prove it, but you know it like in your bones. And so you're just trying to do it so you can show people like, here's the evidence. Like you thought I was crazy, but this is what I believe in. And then here are the pieces of evidence to back it up.
And like the thing is, like I see other people kind of like living that life. Like I follow kind of like the same person over and over again. I'm sure we all do this, but like my feeds are just like the same, like different fonts of the same thing. So like I have one genre where it's like the European fashion girlies, and then I have another genre where it's kind of mixed. It's like European fashion girly, but they're an entrepreneur. Think about like Matilda Djerf, Negan Mercelehi, like they have a bigger company. Like those are kind of like my North Star girlies. And then I also follow like I would say like, what else?
the European fashion girlies, and then the European fashion girlies that run
run a business. So like I feel like that. I know there's like little things like I like the creative people, I like the writers and authors, and like, you know, the self-development people. I definitely say self-development world in general. And so like I feel like I'm just like, I want to be able to mix all of these together. Okay. I'm not necessarily trying to teach people an exact life to achieve. I'm just trying to teach them that if I can get to my exact life by using these certain principles or doing these certain activities, whatever life you want, you can also do the same thing. And I think that exists on some level. Like I kind of get my fix from like watching the Hormozis or watching Dan Coe and watching all the people I watch. But I don't know if there's been something dedicated to helping people get their dream, like dedicated to them dreaming, but like it's like they're having fun. I know there's people like there's like always a mastermind or a course on like how to make money or how to grow, but it's like not that stuff. I'm talking about like the internal process you're going through. Like, is there anything dedicated to people like, oh yeah, I want this structure. I want my companies and my resources to be so solid that when there's a younger person who looks at like, oh, they're finally free, they can do things in the world, and they're like looking for the next step, and they come across some product or resource I've made, they're like, oh, it's easy. Like, I'm not crazy. Like, I want it to be that simple. Because there's things like that that's for me where I've come across somebody's resource and I'm like, oh, they just broke it down. It's so easy. Yeah. I thought it was this huge, massive problem.
It would have been for you. It would probably taken months or years for you to go in
and learn
through the valley of despair and learn everything you need to learn. But then when someone just kind of makes it a commoditized thing, it's just like a video or a course or like even an article.
Even that, like this little stuff that makes it like, this idea is so much less scary than I thought it was. And that's what I want people to think when they think exactly what I want. Because I think anytime people think, I want exactly this lifestyle, I want to do this exact thing, it's immediately passed off by them or other people around them. Immediately. Normalize dreaming. Normalize like doing exactly whatever you want to do. Like I never wanted... Anyway, I could go into.
You're just ranting.
Sorry, I can see this. This is why we should talk about it, because it's like, see, there's more work to be done. Yeah. So, but last thing, I just want to talk about this analogy that you gave, the waterfall analogy.
Oh, okay.
That really helped me see, like, yeah, my vision is fire. Like, I'm the master to all the secrets. So, tell us, what's your waterfall analogy for visions?
I actually don't remember.
You don't?
No.
Okay, I remember it.
You remember? Okay, you tell me and then maybe I'll remember.
You just interrupt me. But Shaheen gave me this analogy. He was just like all of us dreamers, we see a specific waterfall. Like it's in our brain, like it's in our dreams. We're like, oh, this waterfall is beautiful. There's the blue on this side, there's the pink on this side, like all these beautiful colors come in, the shine comes in at this angle. Like we see it in our head. Clearly, perfectly. And we're in the forest and we're seeing ponds, we're seeing little lakes, we're seeing little puddles and trees and everything. We're like, okay, there's signs of water, but you know, I'm not seeing exactly the waterfall that I see in my brain, but I know it has to be close. Like, look at all this water, there's evidence. Like I see the same kind of birds that I see you know, that fly around the waterfall. And it's just like, that's what it feels like to have this like dream vision of like your dream career, your dream life, whatever. And people around you are just like, give up, just settle with this fucking river right here. Like just drink out of this and use, like, you don't need to run. Like you're probably never going to find this thing. And you know, you sound crazy and like no one else has seen this waterfall. So they're just like, yeah, you can get this, or everything is like close, but it's not exact.